What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and I am joined today by one of my two usual co-hosts. We've got Kyle Henning on my left. Kyle, how are we doing tonight, sir?
Doing pretty good. It's been a good week since that extraordinarily cold game we played in. What was
Yeah,
that, Saturday now?
Saturday. Yeah,
Gosh, it's been so long. I mean, we had to wait, a full extra 2 days to find out who we got to play and when and where.
yeah.
So,
It was a long super wild card weekend. Obviously highlighted by the Chiefs getting a playoff W, which earlier in the season, many, including myself, might not have predicted to happen. But like we kind of talked about last week before the game, the temperatures, the conditions, the opponent, all of those kind of really factored into the Chiefs looking good for that game. So we're gonna dive into that for sure. Arrowhead Tom, our other usual co-host, should be jumping in here sometime soon in the episode. We sure do hope. So yeah, we will see on that. But yeah, we'll jump right into it. It's
yeah, it's nice
you
to be
know
able to do that. We don't have a lot of the fluff and the extra stuff to go over. It's ready to go. We can go right into
yeah,
what Saturday
right
was.
into the meat and potatoes of that wild card game, which
Hey,
was
it was cold.
it
We'll
was
start
very
there, I
cold.
guess, because that seems the natural place to start.
Yeah, according to who you listen to, it's either the third or the fourth coldest game in NFL history. Um,
There are mixed reporting. Who
there
knows?
is mixed reported on
It's
that
cold.
because yeah,
It was minus
it was
30,
minus
35 points.
27 to 30 wind chill. The field was obviously very cold and frozen. The swirling winds were a big problem,
Not as
obviously, which
cold
is
as
a
it could
big.
have been. They have those nice heated. Now,
They do have the heated pads.
I'm not telling you it was soft, but it was
No,
not.
definitely still pretty
It
hard,
was not
according to
rock
various reports from
solid.
some
So
players. Travis Kelce nobly said that he didn't really notice it too much, but also when it's that cold, it's kind of what
everything's
can you
cold,
really do?
and it
It's
hurts. It all
it
hurts.
hurts. That's like we talked about. It's one of those things that hurts every single hit,
That's
every
why they talked about it being
just
mental.
movement. Yeah,
I laughed when Jeff Darlington was on ESPN and he's like, "Yeah, Patrick Mahomes told me that it's all mental, which is the worst advice ever." And it's like, "No, that's kind of the point. You proving his point entirely. Like it's entirely mental at that point. When it's that cold,
yeah,
it's just you have to deal with it and then do what you have to do to get through dealing with it."
yeah.
Well, that's what
They
happened
did.
on Sunday. Now, it's funny cuz the stats look almost identical to the game they played in Germany, and that game was played in much different weather. The scoreboard looks a little more inflated for the Chiefs, but the overall flow of the game and the stat lines look pretty similar. And the only difference is the Chiefs played better on offense this time.
Yeah, definitely had a lot better offensive performance, which is pretty funny to think about, given the circumstances. But yeah, it
That's
really
been the
just
problem all year, which is a weird sentence with Patrick
yeah,
Mahomes at quarterback, but
yeah,
and an
no
11
kidding.
and an 11-win season and another division title for 8 straight. And I sorry, I have to say some things for perspective's sake because I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes we
really gotta have some
forget what
perspective
we're
of
doing, which is not
what.
supposed to happen.
Yeah, the down year is still.
The window is supposed to look like what just happened with Philadelphia and what happened with San Francisco, who is still in a window because they've
Still in the window.
managed to have a bunch of ton of weapons and find cheap quarterback play for several years now. Um,
Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely still very much in that window, and
with a with the largest quarterback contract we've seen, and it's still the largest one because
yeah.
the numbers say so. Total
So
dollar
safe to
wise.
say
So
we're still doing pretty good, but
they're not
um,
supposed to be this long, guys. The windows are not supposed to be this open for this long. It's impressive. It's fun, and this is a steal it year. This is a steal a Super Bowl year.
yeah, this is we talked about it a little bit pre-show, but after this game, it's really we're playing with house money at this point. It's
I
it's
said it.
not ours to win, and so it really would be overcoming some great odds to come together and win the Super Bowl this year.
It was a
It'd
nice
be
start too.
one of the greatest heists of the century. Really, it'd be
It
a
would be nice. It would be nice year to steal it because there are several teams that feel like it's definitely they're more their year than ours,
yeah.
and
I
that's
mean,
the
that was
fun
kind of
part,
the Dolphins,
especially when yeah,
the Dolphins, I mean, early on, I kind of, mentally compared them to like the 2018 Chiefs, where they come out and they're very young, hot, and they got a lot to prove. Obviously, regular season, putting up a bunch of numbers. But
They had some injury
unfortunately,
trouble, which sucked.
yeah, that did derail things for them a little bit.
The NFL, that's one of the other things.
That's what you got to overcome. It's never a given.
I'll say this: we've largely been healthy. There's been segments throughout the year where we've been banged up and had some guys missing, but we've been largely healthy most of the year. Knock on whatever wood
that's
you want to
definitely
do,
a big
or
benefit
whatever.
that we had over Miami, but definitely just felt like their steam was kind of running out going into this game, and with the cold conditions, it was a lot to overcome for them for sure. So
Miami had a tough down the stretch, just like Philly.
Yeah, they definitely started to fall apart near at the end. But I mean, hey, good season, Miami. It was definitely a good run for them. But it was clear pretty early on. Yeah, it was clear pretty early on just the attitude difference between both teams and the physicality, which was a huge part of the game. Obviously, we talked about a little bit just the tackling, the just being used to the cold weather, cold temperatures. It was a big difference for sure. We definitely saw the Chiefs defense come out there and really hit guys, which was the opposite effect of the Dolphins. The Dolphins were laying dudes left and right, and Jalen Ramsey, I mean, he really was not about it. Jalen Ramsey's only played in warm weather states, and bro has to come into a -30 wind chill and try to tackle Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think so.
There weren't many guys on that defense that were looking forward to tackling Pacheco, and that was very evident. Like run one, they were like, "Oh man, all game. He's gonna do this all game."
All game.
Yes,
all game.
he
We have to
is
hit this
all
guy
game.
all game.
20, I think 4 times, 23 or 24 times. The defense was exactly what I expected the defense to do in the playoffs. Hi, it's the playoffs, and we're going to punch you in the mouth. Would you like to respond? We'll see what happens. And the Dolphins had no answer, especially on the offensive line. That D line absolutely dominated the trenches.
Yeah,
from the edges
from the D line.
By the way, not necessarily just Chris Jones. Like they were wrecking. Now, Tua, much like Jalen Ramsey, not a big fan of cold weather, apparently. No. Again, Dolphins and Dolphins fans, if you beat Buffalo the week before, you don't play.
Yeah, it's crazy. All you gotta do is beat your division rival at the last week of the year, and you don't have to do that. But instead, you're mad at us.
A couple games before that too. But yeah.
But instead, you're mad at us. I don't.
Well,
okay.
We'll get to that later because it's just a weird thing. But they came out and it was evident they wanted to hit them on both sides of the ball. Yeah. But it was also clear that Patrick can throw in that weather.
Oh yeah.
In any weather. And
he's a snow game guy. He said it himself.
Tua didn't have any fun. There were several missed throws. He had flat out misses. Some of that was pressure related. Some of that was he did the ball. It was cold and it just came out funny. And if you listen to the mic'd up from L'Jarius Sneed that the Chiefs put out, it was very evident that they knew that Miami wasn't having a good time with the weather, and that they had decided they were having a good time with the weather, and they were going to go out and play just like normal. And it was evident. They hit everything.
Yeah, it was a very clear difference. Joining us now, our buddy Arrowhead Tom is here. Tom.
Hello.
Tom.
Sorry I'm
Your
late.
screen is green.
My green screen for whatever reason is not working.
You don't always do this in the Chiefs locker room? What the heck?
Now you know I'm not actually in the locker room. Yeah, no, sorry I'm a little bit late, boys. I stopped to help clean up Arrowhead Stadium. It turns out it's really hard to get chunks of dolphin out of the ice. You gotta scrape real hard and
clean up.
A lot of cleanup.
We were
Yeah.
just talking about the physicality dictating a lot of the outcome of this game, and
Yeah.
how that happens. When I thought that the Darlington report about Patrick telling him it was all mental was kind of hilarious, because Darlington was like, that doesn't make any sense, and then you went and watched the game and went, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, so these are the types of games. This was my thought that I had during the game. So I know I wasn't here for our prediction episode. And part of that was like I did not feel good about this game. The last month of the season, they were limping into everything. And I was even telling people, I said, I don't have any expectations. My hopes are real low.
Yeah.
But then they toughed it out. And this is the difference. So I had a whole other thought, which was the Tua Dolphins are like the Alex Smith Chiefs. Really fun during the regular season and really talented, but like this is a difference in. Do you guys remember when the Chiefs would make it to the playoffs and they'd run into guys like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whoever it was, Ben Roethlisberger, and it was just it didn't matter if they brought their A game, their B game, whatever. It was just like these guys were another level, and it was. I just remember going, this is what it's like to be on the other side of that as a franchise, to go, this is a game that should be sloppy. The other team has more weapons, and I know they had a lot of injuries and
on defense, whatever. They had a lot of injuries on defense, and their O-line was a little banged up.
Yeah, but their offense got devoured. Yeah, I mean, there were just a lot of things that made me nervous about it on paper, and they went out again. That's
preview episode, because neither one of us had any of those concerns really.
Yeah,
I had all of them. There was a reason why I was avoiding it, because I would have been unpopular.
Yeah,
I was doom and gloom. I was like, all right, let's just see, let's improve our draft position. That's let's prepare for the silver linings. And now I just feel like it's house money. And that's what it just felt like. It felt like,
it's house money.
You surpass expectations, you overachieve, but it feels like more than anything, this is a franchise as a whole that knows how to win the ugly games when it matters most. And that's what it was. It was an ugly game. That record low
temps.
For
one team, it was ugly. Like I said, they made that should have been an ugly game look fairly smooth from both sides of the ball.
It was fairly smooth.
Minus the red zone, which
I was saying 2-6 in the red zone. That game could have been a lot prettier.
Yeah, it should have been.
It was for sure.
42-7. But again, it was largely a much smoother performance. There were not glaring errors. It was little things, some questionable things that took a touchdown off the board.
Jawan Taylor, one day.
He got shoved in the back.
There was a couple weak calls, but yeah.
I blocked the guy because his guy threw me into him, but you got it, guy. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
That was a thing.
But at the same time, they also, Patrick looked around and went, I can look at this defense and go, I don't have to worry about anything because they're not going anywhere. Okay. And then he just kind of did what he wanted to do down the field.
That was kind of an interesting thing that I didn't, I guess, really realize as a non-experienced snow game guy type deal. But especially some of the clips they were kind of showing, they showed a clip of Belichick talking way back in the day about snow games and cold games like that, where it's the run game actually really isn't much. You can't really move guys too well when it's cold and frozen like that. So the pass rush isn't really existent, and you could see that obviously the Dolphins had a lot of injuries on their D-line anyways. They had freaking Melvin Ingram and retirement party Justin Houston line up there.
They had a whole Chiefs reunion tour.
Yeah, literally just shades of Chiefs past.
Emmanuel Ogba is on that roster. And
Ogba was there, yep.
Somebody else is on that roster too from our days, but from our Chief days, but I looked it up.
Yeah, but it's just just nuts. It was
But at the same time, when you say that, our pass rush went out and whooped that Dolphins O-line.
Right.
all
There's
over the
definitely
field.
a pretty big difference still. Our pass rush seemed to handle it pretty well, but theirs definitely was not getting very much movement.
No, but
which
some
was
of that's an attribute to your offensive line, who was back
also
together
offensive
as a
line.
unit
Yeah.
for the first time really since week 13, and they looked
And
comfortable.
they're just used to it. I mean, that really was the biggest thing, was one team was used to these conditions and one team wasn't. And that's why you get home field advantage in the playoffs. You know, that's why you work for something like that, so you can have a benefit of playing in Kansas City or playing in Buffalo where it's colder and the other team might not be used to that.
Well, even
Yeah, go ahead.
even this was a little bit of an exception, right? But you know, here's the thing, and I remember this is something one of my coaches told me is, you know, either way, you got to show up and play in it. You might as well work hard and get the win, right? Because the only thing worse than having to play in crappy weather is having to get back on that bus after you got beat in crappy weather. So nobody told the Dolphins that, but you know, and that's where you talk about the mentality thing. It's like, you know, some people are going to look at it and go, okay, this and this and this, and yes, like being out of your element makes a difference, but the
Chiefs chose to play that game a certain way.
Yeah.
That defense knew physicality was the answer, and they went out and literally beat them up all game.
Yeah, I mean,
they know. Tyreek knows. Tyreek said it when he joked about it.
Jammed his ass to Cancun.
Jammed me to Cancun.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Hey man.
I rewatched that so many times.
On that mic'd up clip, when he gives him the shot and L'Jarius gives him the shot and they look at each other and Tyreek just kind of goes and walks past him and then L'Jarius keeps saying, I'm like that. That was Tyreek going,
oh, yes. Man.
Or on the same mic'd up clip when he's like, I already knew what you were running. What? And then he tells him and Tyreek's like.
Yeah, or near the end of the game when Tyreek drops that deep pass and he just catch the ball, 10. Come on, 10.
Well, and he absolutely leveled Cedric Wilson when Wilson was trying to run block with his hands in his pockets. And then he goes, take your hands out of your pockets, 11. I was like, oh, no.
There was definitely a very clear attitude difference from just the entire team as a whole.
He beat them up.
It was...
And Chris Jones had a field day. George was all over the place. Mike Dana had a good day. Tershawn Wharton was around and making plays where I could hear his name and he was present. Leo,
1.5 sacks.
Leo, okay. That kid is Wisconsin different.
Yeah.
If nobody saw his pregame fit, shorts and like a cardigan sweatshirt and a bag. And I am not joking. In some some regular shoe. Like I was like, yep, Wisconsin. They do different things up there.
And turns out he also might just be the best kick returner in Chiefs history.
Yes. Handled the ball well on the kick returns because the Dolphins kicker special teams could not kick the ball.
Shades of Dan Connolly running with the big offensive line for the Patriots. But that was a big factor in that game was the kicking situation. Big shout out to Harrison Butker for absolutely powering through it because
kicking cinder blocks. Travis,
you could tell. I mean, you could tell some of those kickoffs were really ugly.
Oh, that one he put out of the end zone. I was like, were you just showing off, or did you just not care?
How did you
so
do
bad
that
already?
Save some for next week, man.
Yeah, and
but I think at that point he probably just couldn't feel his foot anymore to care how hard he kicked it. So
that's a tough part too.
Touchback.
But he had a couple. I mean, he had a bunch of field goals in the game, obviously, because the offense kind of stalled out in the red zone, but. Some of those field goals, he would literally come up and he'd be on his knee after he kicked it. It's like he just had to hit it so hard because he was just kicking a rock.
Yep.
So it's
gritting through it every time. I'm surprised he didn't sound like a tennis player out there every time they hit the ball when they hear him.
Yeah, the big grunt. Yeah, I mean he needed it for sure.
Kicking a cold football.
If you've never done it, it sucks. And if you didn't notice, the Dolphins kicker and punter did not want to do that.
Yeah.
Especially after. Oh man!
Did Tommy even have to punt any?
He had a couple.
He had a couple. Yeah.
He was fine. He did exactly what I expected. He was boom, okay. I kick in this.
Tommy's a dog. We ain't got to worry about him. But
I'm sure they practiced in it this week. I know they practiced outside that last week in it.
Yeah.
Because Travis was running around in freaking shorts.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what Miami does, you can't crank up the AC in your indoor
They said
facility
that.
enough to
I'll give
replicate
Mike
that.
McDaniels that. He said you can't simulate whatever that is. Like that's
No.
Yeah.
What
He
if
said
there's
that
like a
was
certain?
crazy.
I wonder if there's a strategy to that. Maybe
his
teams need
post-game
to
press
start.
conference, he said we're crazy. We just
Yeah.
went and did that in that weather. We're crazy.
I wonder if
Well,
there's like.
you are, and you get paid a
I
lot
wonder-
to do it. So
I wonder if teams should like start traveling to these cold weather games like a week early. You know, it's like, hey, just take your camp there and
I
find.
would have tried to find a place around Kansas City to practice.
I mean, at least something. You know, like
You
at
got
that
control
point,
the
you're
guys
just
for
all
the
you're
whole
training
week
for is the
because
cold.
they're not out doing stuff at the clubs. They're studying and they're in the rooms and they're focused. They're it's a dorm situation, but a lot of people won't do that dorm style stuff or the hotel room stuff like the Chiefs will. It's funny.
It's also very tough to do that very last minute because
it's
they
a lot of
didn't even know
logistics. Yeah,
they
but
didn't
it's
know
a good point.
The
until-
NFL owners are all billionaires.
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
Mark Davis, I think.
Yeah.
But they're all billionaires.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Something to think about though.
It's
And
a
he
good
might
point.
be now because they moved to Vegas and their valuation went way up after moving, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, maybe Miami next year if you get back there and just book some
But-
hotels in KC and get that
I don't know,
figured out.
Tom. What stood out to you on the? We already talked about the offense, so if you want to talk about offensively at all, what kind of stood out there?
I mean, we want to see the end zone stuff cleaned up. Obviously, the guys who, and this is, Travis Kelce was there. Rashee Rice, hell of a game, right?
Dog.
Whew. What a nice playoff debut, especially when he should have had another touchdown. But
Can't draft wide receivers. What? Sorry.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody about it. Like, man, it's wild if you go back even a year ago when we were talking about like Rice as a prospect and then like who he is now.
Everybody
like,
hated him.
Yeah, well, but also like he was just used so differently at SMU, and you have to understand that like this goes back to an organizational philosophy, because I think when you look at that year of his senior year at SMU, right? Rashee Rice was their offense. It was his best statistical year, but like literally their strategy was, all right, it's 3rd and long,
go
Rashee down there somewhere, and they just would throw ducks. I'm talking absolute ducks.
That arm punt to or through that Tyreek hunted down that Trent McDuffie mugged him on accident because it was so poorly thrown. They look like that all the time, and he was going up between 2 and 3 dudes to get them.
So he was going up to get guys, like he was just doing everything he could. So that's where, and we talked about this during the offseason where, Shane Buechele, whatever his name is.
Bobby Boucher, it's spelled the way you said it, but it's
he's on the team for like 3 years, Tom. Come on.
Listen, but he was the quarterback before, right? So he'd worked with Rashee, and he was like, dude, like,
hey, this is what the guy wants.
Yeah, and so I'm sure having that inside intel was probably helpful for them to project who he could be as a player, because he's just got so much more juice to him than what I think anybody thought, because you get the ball in his hands and he's just like boop boop boop, like
it is.
I mean, the development that he's. I mean, he had the signs early, but like, man, there's the crazy development that he's had. Like like the one pass that really stuck out to me was I forget when it was exactly, but he ran kind of a middle of the field route, kind of then curled back, and then there was a linebacker right in front of him, and he just kind of took 2 steps to the left, found the soft zone, and Pat just threw it exactly where he needed to go. And that's just veteran wide receiver stuff that literally no other wide receiver on the team knows how to do at this point,
including the veteran,
including the guy that's paid a lot more.
That was like the most impressive part, where he was just like, oh, there's a little soft spot and there's a linebacker right in front of me. Let me just take 2 steps to the left.
And by the way,
Travis and
great.
Mahomes that makes Travis and Mahomes so good. And so if she can absorb some of that by proxy,
that is the bread and butter of.
If you guys were that exact play that you're talking about, if you're watching who Patrick is looking at on that play to drag that linebacker an extra half step, it's Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's looking at Travis while watching Rashee, and as soon as Rashee moves, whoop, boom,
Rashee catches on. It's like boom. The understanding of the offense has been a great development to see.
I also told everybody to take a breath with him, and I think Tom and I were hammering this when it was the little bit of the focus drops when he's trying to run before he caught the ball earlier this year, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, everybody's dropping the ball." Look, yes, he's also a rookie, still trying to think about all the things he's doing, and when he stops thinking and starts playing, it will be a
big
very large difference. And we are here. Guess what? He's not a rookie anymore. This is the playoffs. Once this starts, nobody's a rookie anymore.
Said last year.
This is the exact same conversation we had last year. It's crazy.
But at this point, you're not a rookie. You have a full league under your
whole season.
Yeah.
You have played a full slate of NFL games.
So, switching over to the defensive side, is that?
I mean,
I got lots of thoughts on the defense. Holy cow!
Let it out. Let it eat.
All right. So, Kyle, you're the one who said this, and I'll say it again because I'm like, I saw it and I'm just like, how? Apparently, you can teach 270-pound defensive linemen to bend.
No, and you can, and I don't know.
I don't know how. There was the sack that he had.
I want to have Bobby on this podcast and legitimately ask him because I don't.
How did you teach this Greek kid to just become? Yeah. Now here's the thing.
He's not. He's never going to look like Von Miller turning an edge. Not that bendy float underneath where he drops that hook. You can't. The dude Von's body does things that I don't think are supposed to do it. Like that's not the same thing. He's not going to be who's the other guy I'm thinking of off the edge that literally could just fold himself in half and run around the corner. Tamba used to get held into that position. But Tamba is one guy who's literally used to be able to just fold himself in half because he would be literally getting held the entire way around the edge to do it.
Yeah.
But he won't ever look like that. But he didn't have it in college. He does now. He can do it.
He's becoming a real home run of a draft pick. Like You're the guy that played up to you, dude. How did they do it, Tom?
So here's the thing, and this is where I think one of the things that we have to remember. We've talked about this before. George was newer to football, but he's only 22 years old.
God, I forgot.
He's
played water polo.
That's great.
He looks more explosive and I know he's worked with Tom in the offseason, and he's doing all the things right. Right?
Yeah.
And when
technique.
You
talk about the technique for a minute, please.
Yeah, I mean he is. Last year, especially early, it was just bull in the china shop trying to outpower guys. Just the stuff that he did at Purdue, and it worked just because he had such a good motor. Sometimes he'd get those cleanup sacks because he was playing with Chris Jones and some other guys, and that worked out. This year, George has had some solo wins where George has been the guy making the plays. And like that one with Tua, that was George making the play. He won.
Chased him directly into Chris Jones's lap.
Yeah, he won the rep, and so for him to have double-digit sacks as a sophomore is a big deal. For him to show the athletic explosiveness that we haven't seen with Tamba, I mean, he's going to have his hand placement. It wasn't terrible coming out, and he's got really strong hands.
Training with Tamba is my
learning the nuance.
Thing ever.
Tom, and you remember a couple years ago, it might have been Joey Bosa's rookie year, maybe his second year when Tamba was still playing, and it was kind of a little controversy because Tamba was showing him
when he was showing him stuff.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, knock it off.
Yeah. Hey dude, he doesn't need help.
That goes to show how much respect other people have for Tamba around the league. He is, in terms of that hand fighting and those hand movements, very few and far between. So, because here's the thing, and this is what people forget: Tamba Hali was a terrible athlete. Like he was like, don't get me wrong, he's still better than I would ever. But like you look at his combine numbers and you're like, what? He ran a 40-yard dash in 4 days and 4.5 days.
He's not impressive from a raw athletic score standpoint until you turn the game film on.
Yeah.
And you talk about motor with George. Tamba's motor never shut off, ever.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's shades of Tamba Hali. He's a very similar mold,
If he just gets to sit, oh God, if they would just bring him in as a special assistant on D-line for him to just sit there and teach edges, hand placement, and fight. Oh my Lord,
man!
Or just go hang out with him all summer like George does.
Yep,
if I was Felix, since I'm a K-State kid and from kind of the area, I would be parked in front of Tamba Hali's house and Bobby Stroop's workout studio.
I would stalk
24 hours a day.
Yeah, literally.
Just stalk him. Don't let him out of your sight.
That's
so I think there is I just think that there's a lot of promise there. Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed, please keep those two together for as long as you can. Holy cow.
They beat the crap out of that wide receiver core.
They absolutely Tyreek Hill has to be. And I think that's part of the reason why he could joke about it, because he just knew he wasn't going to get.
Yeah. And it's his fault.
But
it's also his fault. We have them because of him.
But here's the other thing. It's not like Tyreek Hill is the only receiver on that team
that has talent.
Jalen Waddle, good receiver, fast receiver.
Did not see him.
Didn't see him. Yep. Who? Jalen who? So, everybody was focused on the Tyreek Hill.
Cedric Wilson did not have a fun day, and L'Jarius told him
two catches for 31 yards for Mr. Waddle. Now, Tua couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, there's that problem.
Well,
yeah, he was.
We discussed that a little bit. It was cold, and he's not
definitely not his.
However, you're going through these, and I want to touch on this briefly because I talked to Garrett about it pre-show, and I think it's important to point out. There's been a lot of conversation about how the weather dictated this Dolphins offense. I'm going to read you blindly the 2 GameCast stat cards for these two teams for these 2 games, and you tell me which one of these stat lines goes with which game. Okay? So Tua was 20 of 39 for 199 and a touchdown and 1 INT in the game. Patrick was 23 of 41 for 262 and a touchdown. Mostert was 8 of 33 for 33. Pacheco was 24 of 89. Hill, 5 for 62. Rasheed, 8 for 130. Now I'm going to read you the other game from this year against them in Germany, where there was no weather problems. 193 for Tua on 21 of 34 and 1 touchdown. Mahomes, less. The offense wasn't as good, but I think technically more touchdown passes for him. 20 of 30 for 185 and 2 touchdowns. Mostert, 12 for 85. Pacheco, 16 for 66. Tyreek, 8 for 62. Noah Gray, 3 for 34. The Chiefs won both of those games. The Chiefs' offense was worse in Germany by a long shot. The Dolphins' offense was nearly identical, minus Mostert getting a few more yards. But they also didn't have Achane in that game, so all of Achane's yards, which, by the way, from the Dolphins game this time, he had 25? Not many. Hold on. Let me double check here. 6 carries for 9 yards in this game, and 3 catches for 21, so 30 yards. There's your other 30 yards that Mostert had. I'm sorry. They got dominated both times they played this defense. They just gave up 1 extra touchdown in Germany.
Yeah. And maybe it's, hats off to Steve Spagnuolo. Some of the I don't know if you guys saw the graphic of the Mike Edwards interception where he just mad scientist. He's having the.
Are you talking about the 2 to 1 to 2?
Yep, the 2 to 1 to 2, where he shows 2 high. So just to put it in layman's terms, so 2 high safeties, right? Which is you as an offense, you play that one way, and then it rotates to 1 high, and you think, okay, this means I can take a deep shot because 2 high is usually you have It's
Safeties are
referencing your
halves.
safety.
They're covering halves of the field.
Yeah, so you usually
In
you
one
have
high,
those guys back there to take off, the deep shots. So then he rotates down to a single high. So there's one safety, which means you're more likely to take those deep shots.
'cause he has to
And
cover
then as the
whole
ball is
field.
snapped, he rotates back to a 2, and that's where we end up with that interception. Beautiful.
And you also end up with
drawn
an
out.
interception because somebody was in his lap. I believe Charles Omenihu, who we did not talk about on the defensive line portion of that
Yes,
conversation.
well, we just haven't got
Charles
there yet.
Omenihu.
I know.
Charles
There's so
Omenihu was
many
definitely in his lap on that one. Also, L'Jarius Sneed had really good coverage on Tyreek from the jump, just basically just jamming him from the start of the route. Anyway,
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, and basically
was
just
the
took
other
away
thing
to
on
his
that.
first read, had him look around, and then with Charles Omenihu in his face, kind of makes a fadeaway throw over the receiver's head right into the arms of Mike Edwards. Yeah, that was a free one from Mike. That was good. That was good for him.
Beautiful. It was beautifully executed, and the coverage was
And
like,
if you're the quarterback, it's not even that it was what they actually did, which was 2 to 1 to 2. It's why did you just do that? What was that?
Yeah,
Like what was the actual purpose of that? All right, whatever. That's one on the other side. You're like, okay, they got us. I don't know what that was. I've never seen anything like that before. Cool. Moving on.
Yeah,
but
that was
they
pretty good.
couldn't do anything all game long. And it was evident with the hit from Trent McDuffie on Tyreek, from L'Jarius just absolutely erasing him at the line. And Andy talked about it, which Andy does not do.
Yeah.
Andy was like, I've never seen anybody do that to Tyreek. And L'Jarius was just like, not today.
It was a real fun performance, I think. Definitely from a fan's perspective, one of the more fun games to watch. Just definitely didn't feel like there was ever really too far in trouble.
It could have been more comfortable because they could have scored touchdowns earlier, but we already
they could have punched some of those. But
as we were racking up those field goals, it got more and more comfortable once we had 2 possessions, and then it turned into 3.
Every time they kicked a field goal, I was like, okay, a little more breathe. Okay,
exactly, yeah. And
in most playoff games, field goals are bad, but in that playoff game, I was fine.
And with the way our defense is playing, and I think that's going to be a huge factor going into this next week here, which is a good transition. The defense is going to be a huge factor in going and taking this team all the way to the Super Bowl, which will be very unique for this Chiefs. Usually, it's always the offense that's the highlight, as we've said. So,
they get a chance to be this. They get to steal one, guys. Like
they get to potentially steal one here this year, and it starts in Buffalo. The Chiefs going to Buffalo Sunday night for the divisional round.
Unless we're still talking about lake effect snow for some reason again, but supposedly.
Yeah. If they're not buried in snow,
it is a little bit different, but it's not. I don't know.
They can. You know what they don't need to do? Stay in Buffalo and try to practice. They could go to like Syracuse or the Jets facilities or the Giants. Nobody's using any of those at the moment.
I'll tell you what.
I don't want to play at MetLife because I like all of our team's ACLs and I like most of Buffalo's ACLs, but I would like for them to go practice somewhere else this week while the snow is causing them problems, because that's supposed to be when it's the issue, is during the practice section of the week, not necessarily the game portion.
Yeah. Well, also really the biggest reason why the game was even postponed the last week's game was because the travel ban with like all the fans getting to the stadium.
Well, they're talking about another one.
Yeah. Which, hey, screw the fans. Don't let them come. Sorry about it. At COVID times, empty stadium.
Which Patrick doesn't want because he would like to play in the building with people in it. I'm telling you,
but also playing without people would be pretty good too.
About it. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for him to be the villain.
So obviously, big conversation. The very first road playoff game for Patrick Mahomes, which maybe one of the wilder stats like ever, considering he's went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them already, and he's still yet to play a road playoff game until right now.
6th all time in wins already, and he's never played a playoff game on the road, true playoff game on the road, other than a Super Bowl in Tampa's home building.
Right, it's pretty wild just to really think about, and that just goes back obviously to the window and the perspective that Chiefs fans have to have, that this is still some very, very good football that we're seeing, even though it's very low for our standards.
The year steal one. Like the Patriots stole a couple of Super Bowls in the Brady era where they definitely weren't the best team in the league, but they just got it done when it mattered. Like we know that. And there's multiple teams that were affected by that. Peyton Manning can tell you about it. Several other teams can too.
Yeah.
This is the chance to take that next step and do that. Also, it would be a back-to-back, which is one of the things that Brady did was steal one of a back-to-back year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is a legacy year, but it also is a free year because they weren't supposed to be here.
No.
Yeah. And they weren't supposed to be there last year, but here we are. Like,
this window is not supposed to be open still. So,
but Patrick Mahomes will not let it die.
Well, we talked about this multiple times throughout the year. I've said it all year long. Get me to the playoffs, get him a seat at the table, and let's find out what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I always said, like, I wouldn't want to be an AFC team having to play the Chiefs in the playoffs. You know, despite how everything looked this season, you just never know if they're going to turn it on and put it all together and just absolutely light you up.
That's the other part that we've not talked about. Like this year, it's the biggest problem with this team has been the offensive side of the football with that guy on it. So if your defense is running at better than it's ever been and better than most teams have seen,
so good,
and then the thing that's been your bread and butter forever, and that's the thing your head coach is the best at, and your best player is the best at, they're best players, probably, because Travis Kelce's on that side of the football also.
Yeah.
There's a much better chance that gets good at the right time than the thing that's not traditionally good, if that makes sense. So if I had to have faith in something getting better, it was definitely going to be the offense over the defense. See, most of the years we do this whole panic thing where we're not sure if we're going to make the Super Bowl. It's because the defense is giving up 25 and 30 points a game.
Right. And then the defense figures it out in like December and January, and then we're good, and we win the Super Bowl.
They've been lights all year, and it's been consistent, and they have rotated through injuries and guys, and it's been consistent. Let's transition to this. We're transitioning to Buffalo. The injury side of it is a conversation because they were without Isaiah Pacheco and Drew Tranquill in this game last time.
Yeah.
Those are gigantic pieces of both sides of the ball, especially when dealing with Josh Allen.
Yeah. Man, I want to start with, Pat talked today a little bit about Josh Allen and like the friendship that they have. And here's the thing, and I've said this before, like there's always going to be trash talk between fan bases, right? And I've said before, like the Bills Mafia guys and girls are, I appreciate them. They know suffering just like Kansas City has. If Josh Allen is a fun quarterback to watch. There's a lot of things about like the Bills that like I would play the Bills 10 times out of 10 over having to deal with a single damn Bengals fan.
I knew where that was going.
They're reminded to kind of play nice. I mean, we're not too nice, but like it's so there's a part of me that's always like, all right, like, and these games have been good. Like I know that the Bills have not been, they were kind of the team of destiny, and then they weren't, and they're still kind of, again, I've talked before about them kind of having the little brother, energy, especially in the postseason. It'll be big for Josh Allen to get one over Mahomes in the postseason, but so far that has not happened. We've had some great regular season ones, and I think Josh Allen has the wins over Pat in the regular season. That said,
it's 3-3 total for playoffs and regular season. So we won 2 in the playoffs. They won 2 in the regular season.
Yeah. So all of that said, I think the Chiefs as a team, if you remember how that Bills game ended and how irate they were, I think that you're gonna see them. I think this is the petty Pat. This is the fired up, locked in, and that doesn't guarantee anything because this team still has its warts. But I think we're gonna see. We're gonna have a classic matchup here. I think this could be this, and this happens almost everywhere. The divisional rounds are better than the conference. This is the game.
Oh, wildcard weekend was a mess.
Side. Yeah, this is going to be the game.
This very similar to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely
This is
feels
gonna
like
be
the
a fight.
matchup.
This is going to be a fight. Now, Buffalo's defense is. Let's just do this. Let's just do the injury report so we can
Do the
get
injury
the
report
rest
real
of the
quick for him,
conversation
Kyle.
going.
Yeah. Let him know.
So, Derek Nottie is do not participant with a tricep for the Chiefs, and I've heard several people have talked about IR with him potentially. That doesn't sound good for him.
Yeah.
That would be bad. That
He
kind of
probably
stinks.
done.
He's been playing well. However, that would mean Mike Pennell, who also seemed to play pretty well against the Dolphins, Hershawn Wharton, who played pretty well against the Dolphins. There's plenty of guys they can rotate in there, but that is a name to pay attention to. Other than that, Sky Moore's window was activated to come back from IR. Before anybody yells at anybody, he's not even activated yet. Everybody, hold on. Kadarius Toney is limited with a hip and ankle. Justin Ross was limited with a hamstring. We don't know what that's going to look like. L'Jarius is doing his typical resting, not doing anything during the week limited participant thing. Nick Bolton, Dion Noah Wanye, good news. Charles Omenihu, Rashee Rice, Donovan Smith, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, all full participants. I will note Rashee and Charles having hamstrings isn't my favorite thing, but it was extremely cold, so I'm not surprised there's
very
tissue
cold
stuff. The Bills, Josh Allen's listed with a neck, which he was listed last week with a neck. I think he has been for a lot of the year because I think he had something earlier in the year with it. I don't remember exactly. They have 3 notable do not participants, which was Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, and Gabe Davis. One of those dudes left the field with an air cast thing on his leg. I think that was Bernard when he got his ankle messed up. Now, I think x-rays were negative, but I don't know if he's going to be able to go. That's a tough turnaround on that one.
short
Gabe
week
Davis
too.
is a knee, and Benford was a knee, and I don't know that Benford one. He didn't come back, and that was fairly early in the game, so that's not spectacular for them either. In that Pittsburgh game, they also have Tyrell Dodson as limited. Rasul Douglas said he's playing for whatever that's worth. He was limited with a knee today. Leonard Floyd was a do not participant, but rest, not for anything else. It's just a rest day. Micah Hyde, full participant with a neck, not great, but it's still a full participant with a neck. Teron Johnson is in concussion protocol. He was limited, but that's a short turnaround time for the protocol. We found that out with the Tranquil thing that one time, and some of the other stuff. There may not be Wanye's, I think, was the one we just most recently had where there wasn't a long enough window for him to actually make it back. And because they had to play with 2 less days, I don't know. That'll be close. If he can't go, they get even thinner in the secondary there. And then their punter, who hurt himself on that field goal block that they had against Pittsburgh.
He's out. Yeah,
he was do not participant with a hamstring. Von Miller was a rest day. Taylor Rapp was Taylor Rapp was a do not participant with a calf, and Balin Spector was do not participant with a back injury. And they already don't have linebackers. I think AJ Klein was their leading tackler as a practice squad player last week.
Yeah, I saw
linebacker.
That. I saw that. Yeah.
Buffalo is a little banged up on the defensive side of the ball, and maybe without Gabe Davis, depending on how that goes.
That's going to be a big factor. That's going to be a big factor for sure. Obviously, the injuries, the Chiefs looking a little bit on the healthier side of the things, getting, some reinforcements back potentially.
I don't love the Nottie thing, and I really don't like the hamstrings on.
Yeah, the Nottie thing. We've got a lot of defensive tackles in the wings to fill in there. I think we'll be fine with that.
The good news is Wanye and Donovan both being full and both ready to go. That's good news. Yeah. Tackle depth is always good in the playoffs in these games.
That is big. That is a big thing. Really, I mean, just the story of the game is just going to be obviously once again the Chiefs offense showing up, doing its thing. Probably going to need
the weather. The Chiefs
probably going to need to convert a couple more of those red zone moments.
The red zone will be important.
Yeah, that's going to be a little more crucial because obviously the Bills, they are used to playing in the cold weather. It's not going to be as cold as Kansas City was last week, so it's not as much of a factor. But that being said, you don't have that benefit of the doubt. You got a team that's, albeit a little bit banged up, but they're at least used to these conditions. physicality wise, you can still go in there and definitely get the best of them. But you're going to need to convert some more. You're just going to need more touchdowns. You're really just going to need to not let Josh Allen.
Up still, they still can get better in those areas. I hope we can get a little bit into the game plan side of things. I hope that we see a couple of more 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets against a beat up linebacking core of the Bills.
Yeah.
Put pressure on them to play with linebackers and then have to defend people catching the ball with linebackers. And if they don't do that, they get Pacheco in the face, and that doesn't sound like much fun for guys who aren't used to getting run over by a guy who doesn't care.
Nobody told Pacheco it was cold last week. He just
he did not care whatsoever.
He played football in New Jersey for a while, so
we did.
Yeah,
that's probably part of why he didn't care. It's not exactly warm up there during football season a lot of the time. So they have the opportunities. What I hope that, like I said, I hope we see some more of that. I'm curious what you guys think on the offensive side as far as matchups, and then we can transition to the defense. But the things to watch matchups for our offense against that defense this week is more where we want to go next, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Travis Kelce, him having he's always very good versus the Bills, and especially with their depleted linebacker core. Him having a big day.
Savior.
Yeah, is Matt Milano? Is he around still? Is he?
I think isn't he on IR?
I have no idea.
But I just remember that
he'll probably come in on a zip line or maybe on a paraglider and just because he's
who's
the
that? The Raptors. Yeah. It's the icon, Matt Milano.
Exactly. Yeah, just come down.
Give up 110 yards instead of 140.
Yeah, but that's definitely the matchup I would look for. Obviously, Kelce had a pretty decent game last week. He had a couple drops, which it was cold outside. What are you gonna do? It was cold outside.
I would say he had a drop if we're gonna do that.
Yeah, there was one.
I know that they assigned 3 immediately to him. The first one, the first play of the game, that ball was on his helmet behind him before he even got a chance to put his hands up. Really,
his hands.
It wasn't good.
Come on.
No, it didn't. It hit maybe one hand.
Got a hand
on
him
on his helmet.
Listen, I'm just saying.
That's not a drop. That's not a great throw by Mahomes. That scenario.
I will say the point being though is that he had a decent game last week. Had a couple, but him coming out versus Buffalo, I think, really would be a cherry on top of the whole thing to see him once again just
him to be effective.
Yeah.
Very effective. They need Travis to be Travis in this game.
Yeah, that would definitely help. Tom, what do you think?
I mean, Travis, Rashid, Isaiah, those are the guys that we're going to look at. It's the same thing. Same thing we've been looking for all season. We just need one other guy to be competent, right? Richie James had a couple. I mean, I know he had a drop.
But Justin Watson gave you 2 good catches. Noah Gray gave you a catch.
Even if we could piece, some of those guys together and Frankenstein our way to what would be the production of one other receiver.
Yeah.
Again, it's that same narrative of we just need that production from one other. And then I'm going to give a shout out to one other guy that I don't think I know we've talked about him, but and he had a fumble I think they ruled it a fumble in the Dolphins game, but who's been important down the stretch is Clyde. Obviously Isaiah is going to, and that just the new Clyde.
New Clyde is not too bad.
New Clyde, same as the old Clyde.
I like new Clyde. Just slap a new sticker on it and boom.
Yep.
Give it a car wash.
Shiny.
He went somewhere. He got refurbished.
Send it through the car wash. Slap a new fancy sticker on it, and you're good.
He went to nursing school, turns out, apparently.
Yeah.
And
shout out. It's a big compliment.
It's a thing with the Chiefs of having people getting healthcare degrees while still playing with the team. So shout out to him.
I think he could be that guy, and he also just as the guy who's the game wears on, especially if it is another cold weather game and they're running through the things. That's again. it'll be tough to know until we know, but I think Clyde could be a bigger factor in this game, late in the fourth quarter than what people realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I want to
agree.
give a shout out to Trey Smith and the way they played he played in the
Yeah.
Dolphins game, and
He was
then
another bully.
I
He was
think
another bully
that's
out there.
going to translate pretty well over into this game. The interior three looked comfortable again, looked ready to dominate the trenches again, whether that be in the run game or just absolutely sealing up pass blocking. That interior didn't really allow a lot of pressure, and when they did, it was communicated with the running back, and they filled correctly. And when there was still an extra guy, Pat knew it was his guy and made the step and throw. And like they ran their offense, and a lot of it ran through the interior of that offensive line being back to feeling like its normal self again. And I think a lot of that has to go into the fact that they're all comfortable because all five of them are together again. So they're going to, I think if they continue what we saw against the depleted Bills defensive line in some areas and some segments, and an older Bills defensive line in some segments, I did say Leonard Floyd and Von Miller were resting for a reason. They're not spring chickens anymore. So if they can go out and dictate the game much like they did last game, we will have a very good Sunday evening, I think, on the offensive side of the ball.
And on to the defensive side of the ball, obviously, we talked about the defense a lot already in this podcast, but you go into the Bills team, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Josh Allen, you have a couple good tight ends over there. Gabe Davis questionable.
I'm
what do we
more worried about the tight ends than I am.
Yeah, those tight ends are gnarly.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's going to be the big
buddy. Good luck. I wish you the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you getting 38 and 22, and have fun.
Yeah.
That is
go
true.
ask any wide receiver in this league. Good luck, and I'm talking all of the named ones because they've seen them all this year. Pretty much,
they've shut them all down. It's really
Yep.
So I guess that would lead to like the biggest matchup really being the tight ends and the linebackers. Obviously, this matchup will have Drew Tranquill, which we didn't have last time. That's
which
huge.
will be important.
Willie Gay, obviously out there, who unfortunately probably played his last downs in Arrowhead as a Chief, according to his Twitter. We'll see.
A lot of things can happen on Divisional Round weekend.
We'll see.
You never know. But
we may talk about that a little bit at the end of this.
Yeah, but that's probably going to be one of the biggest X factors for the Bills, running through that offense, run their offense through the tight ends, getting the run game going. It's going to be a tough one for sure. The Bills haven't looked as hot as they once have. Obviously, Josh Allen has his fair share of turnovers.
He didn't have any last week.
Didn't have any last week. Big surprise. Now they also
means he's due for one this week, boys and girls. That's what that means.
He's due for one. He's due. I agree. Any other big matchups for the defense that we want to highlight?
I mean, Josh Allen, I think, is
Josh Allen.
Similarly, from your linebacker core perspective, I think it's interesting to see what Spags decides to do. Whether the tight ends become more of a safety responsibility than they are a linebacker responsibility because they've got a linebacker dealing with Josh and the running back, and that means you've got certain numbers, certain places. Spags is going to do whatever he so chooses because he's done it to everybody all year long, including Josh first game where he gave him problems. So I'm interested to see with Drew back on the field what that frees up and how much more we see Leo used down on the line or as an extra linebacker, but still pass rushing kind of situation because they've been doing that more and more with him, and he's been excellent. He absolutely helped erase the edge run game for the Dolphins in that last matchup, and he's been very good. And it's going to be cold again, so that's Leo weather. Let him be. Let him go.
It's Leo weather, man. Yeah, it is.
Leo weather. I will say one of the biggest things is, and this is always when you play Josh Allen, is being able to finish. I know in the first matchup there were a couple of sacks that got away. There was that one throw on the sideline that was wild. Being able to get him on the ground is going to be important.
They're going to do. You're also going to have to deal with a couple of him making some crazy throw that works. Like, he's going to get a couple
Yep.
of plays.
Yeah, we
whether
saw
it's a
that last
run,
time.
Always does.
We saw that last time. A couple will just that.
whether it's a
shouldn't-
run, whether it's one of those. Now, I hope in the running side of Josh Allen that we just decide to hit him.
hit him hard. Yeah.
He likes to run
Mhm.
through guys. Let him run through guys. I'm not telling you to hit him when he slid, but until he slid,
Maybe
him.
fake slides. Maybe fake slides. Hit him with that.
hit
one.
him.
Hit him.
Unless he is sliding, hit him.
Yeah.
That's my only suggestion.
Yep. That's good. That's good.
Don't care if you're gonna kind of juke move. You better be all the way feet out from underneath you, or I'm hitting you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Period.
Okay. So that pretty much sums it up what we expect for this game. Want to get some score predictions before we get out of here, for good old time's sake.
Chiefs by 100.
Yeah. I like that one.
The Buffalo defense is beat up. I think the Bills are going to get more points than several teams did this year, but I don't know how many more points. This game feels 30 to 24-ish.
Okay.
Or 31-27-ish, and those are the two that I've been going back and forth between, and I can't decide. I don't think Buffalo gets to 30, and I think this Chiefs team, I know it's crazy, but this Buffalo defense is beat up, and if they just use what they can use, which they know how to do now, we've seen it, then they'll be okay, and they can get to that 28-30 range where they're comfortable, and Buffalo won't get there. So.
Okay. I was kind of thinking more along. I was kind of thinking Buffalo doesn't even hit 20 points. I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of like 24-17 type deal, where it's
Very well could be, especially with the elements. I don't know how snowy and windy and crazy it's going to be. So
I have a lot of confidence in the defense.
If it's just cold, we're good.
Yeah, if it's just cold, but I don't know. The defense, the way they've been playing, they've already seen the Josh Allen experience one time. I think they might be a little more prepared for it this time around.
Yeah, necessarily say all those points were given up by the defense.
Well, no, yeah, that is a big thing to consider too. Really,
Special teams is a little scary for me with the Bills' return game. Hardy's been very good at it this year, and he's also caught a couple passes. Makes me a little nervous. They do like to go for things out of the special teams game more often.
They did
against
sign
us.
a new punter, and I guess that punter has some good juju around him. I don't know. I guess he was part of their. I think he's been a part of a couple times that they've beat us. Every time they beat us, I think that punter's been on their team or something stupid like that. It's like, all right, bro, whatever. You beat us in the regular season only, so that's fun. Tom, what do you think?
I think it's going to be tough. I think it might start slow, but I think we're going to have fireworks at the end. I think it's going to be another classic, like I said earlier, and I think we're going to see more points at the end of the game. I don't think all these are going to be just the defense giving up. So I'm going to go 31-27 Kansas City.
Okay.
Last minute touchdown. We're going to break some hearts again in Buffalo.
Matt Hawk is the punter, and he was the punter in 2021, which isn't that the year we won? Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, we beat them in 2021. Yeah,
that's weird.
Almost 13 seconds. So I don't know. I saw some Bills fans were tweeting about he's been on the team for
Well, that's good for them. I'm happy for him.
Great for you. Great for you.
The thing I was
I guess he was
about
the punter when they beat the Patriots in the playoffs in 2021. Fantastic. Great job. You beat the Patriots.
Isn't that the
oh
game
my
that they
goodness.
beat them by like 40?
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs by 100 after that. After I just figured that out, Chiefs by 100 after that for sure.
A quick look around the rest of the league before we get out of here.
Okay.
Baltimore and Houston in the bank. Keep an eye on that game. How long has it been since the Ravens starters played a football game?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's been like 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. That was always talked about a little bit.
CJ Stroud is on fire.
What happened now?
The Texans are hot. Their defense is hot
because they just had to put, I think, Nico on IR. Didn't Nico Collins just go to IR for them? I think they lost. I think they lost the receiver. I can't remember which one, but
if they did.
That would hurt. I'm pretty sure it was. Let me pull up Houston's.
No, I think he's good. I think Nico's good.
Just a minute.
I don't see it. I know Tank Dell went on a couple weeks ago.
I think he's good. I think Nico's good.
That would
Yeah,
be very
Nico's
good
good.
news because I swore that they said he was out for somebody
They're
they just put
banged
on
up.
IR.
But not
Noah
Okay.
Brown.
Noah Brown. Sorry.
Yeah,
Noah Brown,
Yeah.
not Nico. My apologies. Big difference, but my
Big difference.
apologies.
Yeah.
Hey, the Texans could very well go in there and win that game.
Yeah, and if the Texans beat them, all of a sudden the Arrowhead Invitational is back on.
If they take care of business.
We're all
and
rooting
they'll
for the
know
Texans.
that. They will know that before they play that game.
That's true.
So
Yeah, if that happens.
They will know whether the winner goes to Baltimore or hosts the AFC Championship game. So that would add a little more villain spice if Patrick stole a AFC Championship game out
they
of
just
Buffalo's
crushed
mouth,
their dreams of hosting the AFC Championship. Brought the AFC Invitational back for a 6th year. Then that would be
pretty annoying for them.
That'd be pretty nice. So we'll have to see about that one. Obviously, otherwise, if the Ravens win that game, we'll be heading to Baltimore.
Shout out to the Pack Attack and the Lions. That was good stuff. I enjoyed
Good
both
stuff.
of those.
Good stuff. Good job from the Lions.
Niners.
Happy for their fan base.
It's who we got? What Niners, Packers, and Lions and
Bucks.
Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield with the Eagles drop. I feel bad for Jason Kelsey. Other than that,
yeah. See ya, Eagles fans. See ya, Nick Sirianni.
Mostly Nick. Nick.
Screw that guy. He's a big clown.
Who you guys got for your NFCs?
NFC stuff.
Ooh. I think the Bucks might squeak it out against the Lions.
Ooh, spicy.
Very funny to think about the NFC quarterback.
The Lions are talking a lot of trash. And
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield's backing it up. I don't know if you want to give bulletin board material. This is not the time of the year to do that.
Also,
I would feel bad for
a
lot of Detroit, but Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would not be a person I feel bad for if they lost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Detroit.
Bucks defense has been playing really well. Detroit, although
game,
kind of in a situation. Yeah, they're also in a house money situation. They really don't have. They've won a playoff game. That's all they really care about. Buccaneers are definitely pretty hot. And Baker's been balling out over there.
So you taking the Bucks or you taking Detroit, Garrett?
I'd probably take the Bucks. Yeah, if you had to.
I'm gonna roll Detroit. I think they have enough to get it done. I think you kind of see the end of it with this team for this Bucks team. They've got some injuries. They've had some questions. Baker got let down by his wide receivers in the last game. Honestly, that game should have probably been more comfortable if the wide receivers would have been a little better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Other than Kate Otten, who played real well, but
and then give me.
I gotta go Detroit. I do.
Yeah, give me 49ers over. When's the last time Green Bay beat the 49ers in the playoffs? That just seems to be one of those.
Speaking of a team playing with house money, Green Bay is playing with house money.
Well, also, I mean, hey, it's the first time they haven't had Aaron Rodgers behind the helm.
I don't think that's going to help. I think it's, you
guys see the quote that their offensive coordinator said about that? How it's actually kind of better to have Jordan Love in their offense now. Exactly, because Aaron Rodgers would just go up there and he would just make like 10 different audibles at the line, and then they wouldn't know what happened on the play, figure out what play was being called. So it's now they have Jordan Love. He does what the play is called pretty much. They have stuff to build on, track records, all that stuff. They're hot. They are hot. They definitely have some good.
They've got a huge
momentum
going. The coordinator, but if they've taken some of that stuff away from him, which it sounds like they have, then that's good news.
Their defensive coordinator is definitely. He's probably going to receive the Bob Sutton. Yeah, he's going to receive the Bob Sutton treatment after the season, hopefully for them, and make it back next year. But probably 49ers.
Jordan Love is fun. We'll see how consistent he is. He looked really good again. He's been good throughout the last half of the season.
Also, though, a very big difference between C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love's performances this past weekend. Jordan Love throwing to a bunch of very wide open guys, which good for him. Very good.
Yeah. You mean Dallas's defense wasn't good?
Yeah, pretty crazy. He was just. Dallas is absolutely.
Deron Bland didn't have a good day, but he's an All-Pro, and he wasn't very good throughout the. Why?
Yeah, C.J. Stroud though, on the other hand, throwing absolute dots, dropping them in the bucket, tight window throws.
He was all over the place.
Yeah, it's actually almost crazy to say that. I mean, I would kind of fear the Texans right now, even if
they're you want to talk about 2018 Chiefs. That team reminds me of a 2018 Chiefs
If I'm
team.
the Ravens,
The
I would
quarterback's
definitely.
ready. I don't know if the rest of the team is.
Yeah, if I'm the Ravens, I'm definitely not taking them very lightly. Let's
Oh
just say
no,
that.
I'm talking next round when you talk about Houston.
Oh well,
I
next round they're
apologize.
coming to the Arrowhead Invitational,
That's a
baby.
little different.
I ain't worried about. I ain't worried
Those
about
lights,
that. All
those
right.
lights are a little brighter, especially when it's the defending champs and things are.
Yeah, let's see what happens when you get behind 142.2 decibels. Yeah.
I would,
So.
but I brought up the Ravens rest and time off for the starters for a reason. Now, they were banged up, so it's probably helped them in some areas to get some of those guys healthy. But we've seen Lamar come out after 2 weeks off and look really rusty, and the rest of that offense look really rusty.
Mhm.
And D'Amico Ryans and that Houston team is not going to go in there and lay down. So
D'Amico
if
is a
Baltimore
dog.
doesn't show up to play a football game, they will have a problem on their hands, and they may still have a problem on their hands because CJ Stroud is doing wild things right now.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are going to have a problem on their hands if they don't go into Buffalo
And take
and
care of
win.
business.
So that is what we will be looking forward to Sunday night. Be sure to tune in for that one. Who's on the call? What network has it? NBC have a Sunday night?
Who knows?
Playing that
It's
football
probably
game?
CBS.
Yeah, it's probably CBS. You're right. It's probably CBS.
It is CBS.
CBS.
Yeah. So,
which means it will be Tony Romo and.
Well, I don't know, Jim. Yeah.
And it's going to be both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, so it's going to be.
That's going to be a love fest for Tony.
Night.
Tony's going to be infatuated with the quarterback play. He's going to love it.
I'm going to probably try to figure out how to sync the radio to the TV.
So yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to this one. Obviously, be sure to check us out on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all the good stuff. Follow our socials, Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We really do appreciate all the support that you guys have shown us through this season. Hopefully, this is not the end of the road here. Me and Tyler talked about it last week a little bit. It's definitely been a rocky season, both on the field and off the field for multiple reasons. But we've got some good Chiefs football played these past couple of weeks, and
enjoy this stuff.
Enjoy it, yeah, because this is the golden era of Chiefs football still, even though this seems like a down year. Still down years, other people's career years. So, gotta appreciate it. We gotta appreciate everything that's gone into it. And like we said, we're kind of playing with house money anyways. So hey, let's go into Buffalo and make something magical happen.
All the pressure's in Buffalo this weekend.
Yeah,
it's not on us.
Literally all of it. So yeah, good to be the villain. Embrace the villain role, yes. Chiefs Kingdom, because that's what we are, and we have to embrace it.
That's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Hey, we are the big bad wolf nowadays, and we're gonna blow some houses down. So, thank you all for tuning in, listening, watching this one, and we will see you guys on the next episode of The Kingdom Says.